all things pushed out via concept of self, and I put in brackets, enjoy the ride. Now, this discussion was stimulated based on a quote from one of Neville's lectures, Pure of Heart. Now, in this lecture, he discusses some important elements, and he brings up the word gold a lot. We've been students of mental alchemy and the concept of purifying the mind to reflect as, which can be looked at as prosperity consciousness, abundance consciousness, etc. Still, within the scope of no one to change but self, the rearrangement of the mind. And so he states, so I tell you, don't seek the opportunity because he in you is working it out for you. He will take you through all the experiences necessary to reduce you to pure gold. And the chances are the majority of you have reached that point. So in this discussion, he also talks about the furnace or the process of experience, life experience, which is why we always refer to knowledge plus experience equals wisdom. So thus, what we learn, we take, we apply, we go through experiences, and we develop this internal pathway or reveal this internal pathway back to the divine connection. Now, this may seem esoteric, but if you look at our own personal experiences, we'll recognize that as we go through the experiences of life, we understand ourselves more. We realize ourselves more. We understand how the different interpretations and the philosophies from these kinds of concepts fit together so that we can live more harmoniously. This is conscious use of, and we discussed this in the last video, the two gifts of speech and mind. Now, one of the things that we want to recognize is that, as he had referred to, we're moving through states of mind. And depending on the state of mind that we are occupying, we will experience life accordingly. One of the things we want to do is remove the delusions, as he had also stated that he will take you through all the experiences. So life brings us through the experiences to exclude the delusions out of consciousness. And these delusions are the limiting beliefs, the inaccurate interpretations, the assumptions that are not purified in relation to the concept of self and in relation to others, environment, circumstance, and information, which is why I put in brackets, enjoy the ride. What we want is deep integration, embodiment between where we are right now and our vision, what we desire to see brought forth. And he states, in my imagination, I go and prepare the state. I actually go into the state and fill the state with my own being and view the world from that state. I don't think of it, I think from it. When I think from it, I'm actually preparing that state. So this means that the moment we commit to our vision, whatever the end result we desire to see brought forth, we've actually prepared that state because we've gone into our imagination and seen ourselves as that person living in that end. Now, as we continue on this journey, our goal is to dwell in that state and live from that state. And what we've been saying is, based on our interpretations, based on our inner dialogue, based on our inner conversations, based on our thinking, we are revealing our congruence and affirmation of that particular state. And he says, night after night, sleep as though you are the man, the woman that you would be, or that you would like to be. And then if tomorrow does not bring it to pass, it doesn't matter. There are intervals of time between the assumption and its fulfillment. It's like generation. So if you dare to assume it, give it some time, and then some bridge of incidents will be built for you without your conscious knowledge of it, and it would lead you across that bridge to the fulfillment of your assumption in a way that you do not know. Now, what he's referring to in this discussion is experiences, life experiences. What is also happening, as we have been discussing, is this purification process, as he had mentioned in the Pure of Heart is he will take you through all the experiences necessary to reduce you to pure gold. So we receive the desires, we take the desires, and we formulate in our mind's eye a vision that is based on that desire, and we commit to it. And through this process, we go through what I refer to as inspiration and revelation, and as he refers to as the bridge of incidents. And so he states, a bridge of incidents will develop over which you will pass until the state is fulfilled like pure imagining in us, and that he works in the very depths of our souls, underlining all our faculties, including perception, but he streams into the surface mind, least disguised in the form of creative fancy like a daydream, just a simple daydream. As he's describing this bridge of incidents, we recognize that this is a flow-based journey to the destination. It's not one of inner resistance or force or frustration, unless we consciously want it to be that way, or through unconscious or subconscious interpretations of people, environment, circumstance, and information, we are those aspects of our journey to be that way. Now, when I reflect back on an experience that I had when I used to work in corporate, my boss at the time I considered to be a mentor, and he taught me many things. And one of the things that he used to do, whenever I have an idea of something that I wanted to see happen in the organization or in our department, he would either publicly bring me into a discussion with the rest of the team in which they would find all the ways of how my idea or way of thinking was not true, or he would bring me into his office and he would do that with me one by one. He would look at every last detail of what I was proposing and so-called find the flaws in it. It would appear that he was being very critical. Now, this was one of the things that I'm glad that he did with me, because what he taught me was essentially, if I believe in something, then it doesn't really matter what other people say about it or the interpretations. That some way, somehow, I could find the accurate interpretation within myself and be able to respond mindfully. Now, this is very powerful if you're in the entrepreneurial space, because who are you dealing with each day? You're dealing with prospects, clients, vendors, team members, other individuals in your industry, and so forth. And what we are looking for is nuanced discernment, the ability to see and read between the lines. He was teaching me these things. These were the experiences, when I reflect back on my past, which some way, somehow I was put through, and all we have to do is reflect upon our own experiences of these kinds of circumstances and value them to see that it had brought you to where you are right now. And it had contributed to this evolution of your concept of self. Now, what this does is this brings us into a deep engagement with the journey leading to the destination. I used to have a bias in my mind, and I would value the destination over the journey. Then I flipped that bias over to I value the journey more than the destination. Then something happened within consciousness, and I've spoken to others about this, where we started to see the journey and the destination as one. And we recognize that it's mind that's segmenting it as the journey and the destination, which is fine because we call that life experience, which is what we want. Now, one of my clients who we've been working together and we've been discussing flow, and he, as a result, has released a number of books and has really progressed a lot in his business. Released a book, and I'll put a link in the description because I want you to see the cover of it, because when he comes up with concepts now, one of the things he does is get into the flow state, and he allows the inspiration to flow from him. So the contents of the book, the cover, the business partnerships, and everything that is part of his business model and what he does and the service he provides is something that happens automatically as he's been maintaining this state of mind, which is reflective of the vision. So I enjoy my conversations with him because one of the things that he's also a fan of, like myself, is board sports. So he's into surfing, and I'm into snowboarding and different kinds of board sports, and I also want to learn how to surf, and I will learn how to surf. But the thing about that is that he makes that a priority. He makes that state of mind a priority. And he does different things, and we talked about this in one of our previous videos. I'll put a link in the description, about entering the state, changing the state, and changing your life as a result of changing the state. So Neville's saying that we are entering states, we are selecting states via our imagination, and we are dwelling in those states. And all we have to do is maintain that feeling of the wish fulfilled, and a bridge of incidents occurs leading to the destination. So his journey, riddled with all these different activities. He travels around the world and he gets to surf and do all these cool things. And he writes his books based on inspiration, and one thing leads to the next is completely flow-based from that state of mind. And here's one of the quotes actually from his book. He says, "This is one of the main reasons athletes have so much success getting into flow." So it's a book based on flow. He says, "Sport demands embodiment. It's built into the environment." So what we're talking about is a marriage between the inner and the outer world. The bridge of incidents, or the journey, and the different experiences in the five sensory experience is one with the state of mind. And we see it as one, and we value it. And whatever shows up on the journey, such as, those circumstances, let's say, where I had that experience with my mentor at that time, in which that time it felt like extremely challenging for me. I understood why he was doing it. I was being put through the furnace of experience, and I was being purified into a truer concept of self. And we're all having these experiences as well. Now, what's also happening in the mind is the ability to discern, nuanced discernment. So let's talk about that for a moment. In the book, The Kabbalion, it is said, everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same, opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. Extremes meet, all truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. So this is looking at it from the perspective of everything we experience, or all things added from, originates from the one. Individual expressions of the same mind. And that's stated. When we look at the journey and the destination, it is actually in its essence one. Bridge of incidents, which brings us to the fulfillment. So we value the journey and the destination and see it as one. Now, this nuanced discernment shows up based on interpretation. So if we look at what's going on of how we purify the mind, we mentioned removing the delusions, which is happening automatically through the commitment. You'll notice this, that when you get to the destination, you've changed. You've become more of who you are. Anybody that has brought forth a vision realizes that they grew, that they changed, they became a certain way, which is more true to who they are when they got to that end. And so they continued the journey again and again and again. Now, on this journey, we receive inspiration. So when looking at my client, he receives inspiration within. He has an idea to release a book or write a book or create a beautiful cover for a book that fits so well, he does it. When I reflect back on my experience, I notice the same kind of things. Inspiration showing up from many different ways to further stimulate what I am producing. For example, the content that I share on this channel is a result of conversations as well as reflection on my day-to-day experiences. As I go through the integration further to deeper degrees of this information and observe the results of that, whatever kind of goals that I achieve, I'm able to reflect back and share the experiences on this video, and we all do this. This is how we share, this is how we lead. One of the things that we need to reconcile within ourselves is that we're actually experiencing all the same things from different perspectives. And when we appear to not value the bridge of incidents, or we find ourselves being overly reactive to the bridge of incidents, then we can say, what is this revealing about the concept of self? There are attributes that are buried within the unconscious that are being revealed by the reactivity that we experience on the day-to-day journey, the bridge of incidents leading to the destination. So then we go through this process where we identify what these interpretations are, and we change these interpretations. We identify these limiting beliefs. We change the limiting beliefs. And as mentioned, there's only 4 things that I work with to identify and change them, which is subconscious mind audio, self-talk, revision, and environment. And I'll put a link in the description to the discussion I did on those. Environment is very important to me because what is being revealed is expressed in the environment. Now, when we're talking about flow, which we've been discussing, which is the ideal state of mind, it's important to reflect upon this quote here, which he had stated. This is one of the main reasons why athletes have so much success getting into flow. Sport demands embodiment. So, sport or an activity such as the entrepreneurial journey or a project or something like that is revealing attributes about ourselves. And if we're inspired by what's being revealed, like an athlete does, as an athlete performs in their activity, upon reflection of the activity at the end, they reflect and say, how could they have played better? Or during, they also, real time, they rise up to the challenges that are experienced in the game. And then as a result of that, they find more inspiration of how they can evolve their perspective, or as a result of evolving the perspective, evolve their skill within themselves in the moment. That's the flow. And they find this nuanced distinction, which is slight variation-based ways of performing. Maybe a slight angle on how they lean, if, for example, if they're into snowboarding, or a way of conserving energy so they don't run out of energy. Let's say they were soccer players. Or they might get an insight of a certain body part to train if they're a basketball player. And as a result of training that body part, they improve their performance. All of this is revealed in the environment, in the bridge of incidents. That's why I recommend making the journey as valuable as the destination, seeing them as one and valuing both. Because inspiration is found in these experiences. Also, as mentioned, revelation, aspects within ourselves that we might be fighting or flighting against. So we know this, one of the knee-jerk instinctual reaction to something that is within ourselves, that is being revealed in our day-to-day journey, is fight or flight. We either fight it or we run away from it. Now, if we recognize that that actually poses an opportunity, we'll understand ourselves. We'll go deeper within ourselves and say, what is this causative factor of fight or flight? Knowing that we are the interpreter from within. And we can identify what those attributes are. We work with the logical levels, as we have discussed in many videos, Robert Dill's model. And there's got within it a number of layers. We got vision, identity, which represents the self-image, concept of self, values and beliefs, capabilities, behaviors, and environment. The revelation is revealed in one of those layers, in the environment. Person gets reactive to the environment. Person gets reactive to the inability to perform, let's say, behaviorally. Person gets reactive to certain thought processes regarding their ability to cultivate the skill. They feel that they can't do it. They're not good enough, or something like this. Values and beliefs are revealing their interpretations to these attributes that stimulates this reactivity. And we can put it in the category of them fighting or flighting away from the integration of these particular elements. So what we want to do is we want to make peace with these attributes within ourselves. We want to find what these attributes are, and we want to make peace with them, because that's part of this, what I've been referring to as purification of the mind. Because then what happens is what was once revealing in the sense of perhaps we didn't want to look at it. With fight or flight, we were looking at it, or that's how we were integrating with it. It now becomes a source of inspiration. For example, if I go back to my discussion regarding my mentor, at that time I did not enjoy what he was doing. In fact, I disliked him for doing it at that particular time. Now, personally, from my experience, I recognized that he was actually developing me. I recognized that later on. And I actually went back to him and thanked him for doing that, because what ended up happening was I developed a higher degree to be able to turn a rejection into a sale in business, or an objection into an understanding, and then a recommunication in a way that leads to the influence or the buying decision. If I had not gone through those experiences or the furnaces of life, I would not value it. I would not have been purified to those degrees that I was purified as a result of those particular experiences. Now, the same is to be said on the day-to-day journey that we have on our way to realizing our vision. So we want to integrate the aspects of ourselves that seem to express in a way of fight or flight, in the way that we experience people, environment, circumstance, and information. We also recognize that the revelation of these elements and the integration of these elements then lead to inspiration. Through the process of mental alchemy, the mental alchemists were able to achieve these kinds of understandings within themselves. That is how they gave birth to a lot of the contributions to chemistry, science, philosophy, and so forth. They were finding this understandings within themselves. It was always there. What we want is to value the bridge of incidents, the journey. We want to integrate with the five sensory experience. We want to value it. Simply put, we want to enjoy our day-to-day journey to the realization of what we desire to experience. We want to observe where we're fighting or flighting against it and change those interpretations. Neville is a huge advocate for revision because revision goes back and changes the relationship to certain past experiences in which we seem to replay those experiences again. Watch the video I did on revision. I recommend watching that. And also what we want is to get back into that state of mind, because in that state of mind that is reflective of the vision, that's where we're going to find the revelations a lot easier, and we won't fight or flight against them, but rather integrate them and move into a higher degree of purification, which is related to the vision. And all this is happening guided from within. Because as stated from this quote here, he will take you through all the experiences necessary to reduce you to pure gold, which we would call also abundance consciousness, success consciousness. So let's talk about entering the state and making the state of mind a priority. Number one, imagine the ideal. See yourself at the end. When we see yourself at the end, that information impresses the subconscious and you move into that state of mind and you begin to dwell in and live from that state of mind. Same is to be said about imagining the ideal for others. People tend to reveal a lot of aspects within ourselves in which we may not have made peace with. By imagining the ideal for them, we will make peace with those attributes within ourselves that we are imagining within ourselves based on past experiences and relating it to others. Affirmation or inner conversation, or definite chief aim or goal card. Speaking about my client, he shared with me today that he has two definite chief aims. Even though we normally say definite chief aim is one thing, he said, I have two definite chief aims. But I said it like that intentionally. And one of them, he said, was free of mind. And number two was a specific business goal, number-based business goal. So we talked about this in the last video. We're using the mind to bring forth our vision. So what he's doing by setting this definite chief aim, which when we go back to the Kabbalions quote here, is he's looking at it from two perspectives. Free of mind, as in he wants to be able to release from the mind as needed, to be able to reflect, and then step into mind so you can find the flow and do those things in relation to the goal. And I mentioned to him, I said, this is very interesting because what I had discovered on my journey was when you set a goal and see it all the way to completion and do it again and again and again, you're going to see that you're going to invest most of your time on the journey. Most of it is going to be bridge of incidents. So you might as well enjoy, have fun, and find flow on the journey to the realization of your vision. So I set my definite chief aim for the last 3 or 4 years to be from a place of flow. So whatever goal I set, I would always add in there from a place of flow. And if you want to know more about the definite chief aim concept, watch the video I did on the 7-Day Mental Diet by Emmett Fox, in which I infused the definite chief aim element from Think and Grow Rich. I'll put a link in the description to that. Because then I know that I want to bring forth my vision, my goals, from a place of flow. So that was the criteria. Engage with the environment, as the athlete does, finds flow in the environment, enjoys because it's so integral with the life experience. The inner and the outer are integral. As a result, you experience more of the nuanced aspects of the journey. You know, it's like ordering a meal at a Michelin 3-star restaurant and just wanting to finish that meal and leave. That's not the kind of experience we normally go for when we order a meal at a Michelin 3-star. We want to know about the chef. We want to learn about their culinary arts. We want to learn about the different ingredients and the different aspects. We want to enjoy the experience of the dining. We want to enjoy the company that we are with. And we want to savor the nuances of understanding and wisdom that was integrated in the preparation of the meal. You can taste it. So, in that regard, a person develops a higher degree of nuanced discernment. They have cultivated the palate for the journey, they value the journey. And life becomes even more meaningful. Okay, we recognize that we're already on the journey to the end that Neville refers to in The Pure of Heart, as well as the ends that we set up in our mind, that we commit to, our visions. Because as we enjoy the journey, we not only get to the destination, but we integrate and we learn more about ourselves, and we identify these nuanced distinctions, different sub-elements related to the different parts that make up the whole. And this helps us with a higher level of understanding. For example, in the entrepreneurial space, when a person gets a rejection, let's say they're making a proposition in sales, they'll be able to understand based on not only what the prospect said, but how they said it, when they said it, why they said it, and from there be able to respond subconsciously, automatically from that state of mind in a way that will perhaps open up the dialogue even further to reveal more attributes, if the attributes needed to be revealed in relation to why they are not interested in moving forward with the deal. They'll be able to do it because they value the nuances. They won't just take no for an answer and see it as they're not good enough. They know that there's more to it than that, and that they can reveal more to it than they might be currently able to see. So that's what the Kabbalion is referring to, is that there's many degrees, infinity degrees, between two poles. We can say the journey and the destination, there's infinite degrees of life experience, and we can identify and enjoy it because these life experiences and these elements on the journey, as they are revealed in a deeper degree and integrated in a deeper degree, make a more joyous, flow-based journey to the destination. So let's conclude this with an affirmation. You can say, I realize that the journey is as valuable as the destination. I recognize that I'm able to bring forth my ideal vision by dwelling in and living from, thinking from, behaving from, and expressing from that state of mind. I'm able to value my journey and integrate with the life experiences and find joy in the life experiences leading up to the end result via the bridge of incidents. I recognize that the bridge of incidents is inspiring me and revealing at the same time. Inspiring ideas, hunches, and perspectives. I realize that the revelation of how I react or respond further reveals the concept of self in relation to my vision. And as a result of the revelations and the inspirations, I'm able to understand and integrate and move forward as I enjoy the journey to my destination. If you want to copy this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.